The story I'm about to share was recounted to me by a friend whose encounter at a Walmart store turned from an ordinary late-night shopping trip into a spine-chilling ordeal that left him questioning reality itself. This is his story, in as much detail and horror as he conveyed it to me. It was a typical Wednesday night when my friend, Alex, decided to visit Walmart for some last-minute groceries. The store, located on the outskirts of town, was known for its 24-hour service, a beacon of fluorescent light in the otherwise dark and sleepy area. Alex arrived close to midnight, the parking lot nearly empty, save for a few scattered cars that belonged to the night shift workers or late-night shoppers like himself. As he entered the store, he was greeted by the familiar jingle of the sliding doors and the bright, artificial light. The place was almost deserted, with only a few employees restocking shelves and the occasional shopper wandering the aisles. Alex grabbed a cart and began his shopping, moving through the aisles with a sense of ease, appreciating the quiet that the late hour afforded him. However, as he made his way to the back of the store, near the frozen food section, a palpable shift in the atmosphere occurred. The air grew colder, a stark contrast to the warm summer night outside. Alex shrugged it off, attributing it to the freezers, but as he continued shopping, he couldn't shake off a growing sense of unease. Then he heard it, a faint whisper, barely audible over the hum of the refrigerators. Thinking it was another shopper or an employee, he paid it little mind until he realized the voice was calling his name. "Alex! Alex!" The voice seemed to come from nowhere and everywhere at once, sending a shiver down his spine. He looked around, but the aisle was empty. Trying to convince himself he was imagining things, Alex quickened his pace, eager to finish his shopping and leave. But the whispers grew louder, more insistent, accompanied by the sound of footsteps that seemed to follow him, though every time he turned, he found no one there. As he approached the checkout, the lights above him flickered violently, casting long shadows that danced across the floor. The air was charged with an electric tension, and the once familiar sounds of the store seemed distant, muffled by an unseen force. Alex's heart raced as he placed his items on the conveyor belt, the cashier seemingly oblivious to the strange occurrences. With his groceries bagged, he wasted no time exiting the store, the whispers still echoing in his ears. As he stepped outside, he was met with an oppressive silence, the night eerily still as if holding its breath. Glancing back at the store, he saw a figure standing at the entrance, silhouetted against the bright lights inside. It was motionless, just watching him. Blinking, he looked again, but the figure was gone. Driving home, Alex couldn't shake the feeling of being followed, the shadows stretching across the road seeming to move with a purpose. He arrived home, unnerved but unharmed, locking the doors behind him and trying to convince himself that it was just his imagination, a trick of the mind fueled by the late hour and the empty store. But the story doesn't end there. The next day, curious and somewhat masochistic, Alex decided to investigate. He returned to the Walmart during daylight, the store bustling with activity, a stark contrast to the night before. He spoke to an employee, an older man who had worked there for years, and hesitantly inquired about any strange occurrences or rumors associated with the store. The employee's face turned serious, and he leaned in, lowering his voice as if afraid of being overheard. He told Alex that the store was built on the site of an old, unmarked graveyard, a fact that had been discovered only after construction had begun. Instead of relocating the graves, the developers had chosen to proceed, ignoring the protests of the local community. Since then, employees and shoppers alike had reported odd happenings, unexplained noises, items moving on their own, and the feeling of being watched. But most disturbing were the stories of the whispers, voices calling out to people, beckoning them to the back of the store, where the graveyard's heart lay beneath layers of concrete and tile. Alex listened, a cold dread settling in the pit of his stomach as the pieces fell into place. What he had experienced was not a figment of his imagination, but something far more sinister, a connection to the past that refused to be silenced. He thanked the employee and left, the bright sunshine doing little to dispel the chill that had taken residence within him. Since that night, Alex avoids the Walmart, especially after dark. He can't shake the feeling that something remains there, unseen, reaching out from the shadows of history with whispers that call to those who listen closely enough. This experience has left Alex with more questions than answers, a haunting reminder that some places hold secrets, echoes of the past that linger, waiting for the right moment to make themselves known. And for him, Walmart will always be more than just a store. It's a place where the boundary between the living and the dead blurs, a chilling testament to the stories and souls that refuse to be forgotten. Alex's encounters at the Walmart didn't just stop with his own personal experience. Intrigued and haunted by the revelation from the employee, he began to dig deeper, seeking out others who might have had similar encounters. What he found was a tapestry of tales, each more unnerving than the last, painting a picture of a location fraught with unexplained phenomena. One story in particular struck a chord with him. A woman, late one night, had felt an invisible hand grasp hers as she reached for a carton of milk. She turned to confront what she assumed would be a prankster, only to find herself alone in the aisle. Another account detailed the chilling laughter of children echoing through the toy section when it was known to be empty, the sound fading as soon as anyone approached. As Alex collected these stories, a pattern emerged. The occurrences seemed more frequent at night, and often, the whispers would try to lure individuals to the back of the store or to linger longer than they intended. Some even reported a feeling of disorientation, as if the store itself was shifting, aisles elongating and leading them in circles until they felt a sense of panic. Determined to understand the nature of what was happening, Alex reached out to local historians and discovered that the graveyard was not just any burial ground. It had been a small, forgotten plot where the town's outcasts were buried. These were individuals who, for one reason or another, had been shunned in life and were given no peace in death, their graves unmarked and their stories lost to time. This discovery shed new light on the situation. It wasn't just about a graveyard being disturbed. It was about the restless spirits of those who had been marginalized, their final resting place uprooted for commercial gain. The whispers, the sightings, the unexplainable events, all seemed to be manifestations of these restless spirits seeking acknowledgement, reaching out for recognition that had been denied to them in life. Armed with this knowledge, Alex felt a responsibility to do something, to somehow bring peace to the area. He organized a small, informal group dedicated to acknowledging the history of the site. They held a quiet ceremony at the back of the Walmart, offering respect and recognition to those buried beneath. They shared the stories they had learned, spoke the names of those they could discover, and offered apologies for the disturbance their final resting place had endured. In the weeks and months that followed, the reports of strange occurrences began to diminish. The whispers grew less frequent, the feeling of being watched less oppressive. It seemed as if the efforts to acknowledge and respect the past had made a difference. Yet Alex knows better than to declare it a complete victory. He's aware that such disturbances can be cyclical, tied to the energy and attention they receive. He continues to monitor the situation, keeping an open dialogue with employees and shoppers, ensuring that the stories and experiences are not forgotten again. The Walmart remains a beacon of commerce, its lights bright against the night sky, but for those who know its history, it's a reminder of the past that lies just beneath the surface. Alex's experience has taught him that the line between the past and present is thinner than we might think, and sometimes all it takes to cross it is to listen to the whispers in the dark.